why experts are cautiously optimistic about the pandemic after passing the grim milestone of 500,000 deaths.
Plus the 2 voting policy cases being heard by SCOTUS and what's at stake for Arizona voters.
And later this half hour on Break It Down, the increase of women coaching in male-dominated sports.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Ivory Ward.
And I'm Jamie Landers. Thank you for joining us. It's been almost a year since COVID-19 was officially declared a pandemic. More than 800,000 Arizonans have been infected since then, and 15,000 have died. While the economy and our lives have been upended in countless ways, there's also a vaccine and a glimmer of hope, as Jake Holter reports from our Washington bureau.
The U.S. coronavirus death toll reached 500,000 this week, and while that number is sobering, experts are increasingly optimistic that the worst may be behind us.
I think we've definitely seen the worst of this pandemic. I think the worst of the worst will end up being that first 2 weeks of January.
Will Humble, executive director of the Arizona Public Health Association, blames holiday parties and family gatherings for the January spike that saw new cases top 17,000 in one day and more than 300 deaths on another day. But deaths, infections, and hospitalizations have all fallen sharply since then. And with vaccinations ramping up, experts say they don't expect to see similar spikes again.
We're getting much better at getting the COVID-19 vaccinations in people's arms. We've certainly seen that in the large population counties like Maricopa and Pima, who've been particularly effective in these things like State Farm Arena.
Dr. Daniel Dirksen, the director of the Arizona Center for Rural Health, says vaccine delivery was slowed by last week's winter storms, but he says Arizona is now back on track. Humble worries now that the state may be opening the pool of those eligible to younger people too quickly.
If you throw essential workers into the pot at this point, you dilute our ability to protect seniors, and they're the ones that are at the highest risk of having a bad outcome, filling our hospitals and dying.
There are still challenges. A vaccination site at Chandler Gilbert Community College will close for 4 days next week as it shifts from county to state management, and variants of the coronavirus present a new threat. But Dirksen says that if the state can keep up the pace of vaccinations, Arizona will be in good shape, although it won't happen overnight.
I think we can really reduce the impact of this and get back to the new normal, as they've been calling it. So we're all eager for that to happen, but we still have a few months to go before we can get close to that.
While things are looking up, both Dirksen and Humble repeated a common phrase among health professionals: now is not the time to let our guard down. In Washington, Jake Holter, Cronkite News.
And there may be more good news on the vaccine front. Researchers at the Food and Drug Administration said this week that a single-dose vaccine developed by Johnson & Johnson appears to be a good defense against moderate to severe cases of COVID. A vote on approval of the drug could come within days.
Speaking of the vaccine, CVS is getting additional doses through the Federal Retail Pharmacy program. The pharmacy said 570,000 vaccine doses will be available in 17 states starting tomorrow. Originally, CVS was given 250,000 doses when it rolled out in 11 states on February 12th. The states added to the list are Alabama, Arizona, Florida, Louisiana, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. CVS says it can administer 20 to 25 million shots per month as the vaccine supply increases. More states will have access. Walgreens started the program on February 12th in 15 states and jurisdictions, including here in Arizona.
When was the last time you had your vitamin D levels checked? Well, you might want to. Some studies are finding that those with deficiencies may get hit harder by COVID-19. Cronkite News reporter Jackie O'Neill tells us what you should know about the so-called sunshine vitamin.
Your body makes some vitamin D when skin is exposed to the sun, but 40% of Americans are deficient, and people with darker skin have a harder time producing enough vitamin D. I talked with experts about the role vitamin D may play in the lessening of the severity of COVID.
Dan Matijevich is a naturopathic physician at Healthy Habit Health Foods in Central Phoenix. Matijevich says that when patients are tested for vitamin D levels, they're often lower than where they should be for optimum health.
Most people here, Arizonians, are deficient in vitamin D, even though we have more sunlight than anywhere else in the country. So regularly in our clinic here, when we run vitamin D testing, people are consistently lower than where they need to be.
Over 200 scientists and doctors have signed an open letter urging health professionals to help eliminate vitamin D deficiencies to fight COVID-19. Dr. Vatsal Thakur is one of the leading advocates.
There's been dozens of studies that have confirmed this correlation, and there's even now studies that have shown randomized controlled trials that show high-dose vitamin D supplementation actually improves the course of COVID-19.
Vitamin D helps the body absorb calcium and decreases inflammation while boosting the immune system. You can get some from fortified foods, fish, or sunlight, but usually not enough.
A lot of the population is deficient. Around 40% of the US population has a vitamin D deficiency. The things that predispose to having a deficiency are dark skin. My skin requires more vitamin D, more sunlight to manufacture the same amount of vitamin D as someone who has white skin.
Besides supplementation, the amount of melanin in our skin also contributes to vitamin D levels.
Dr. Roger Schwelt is a pulmonary and critical care doctor who supports more attention to vitamin D supplementation. He notes that people of color have higher rates of COVID and lower levels of vitamin D.
We're starting to see clearly that people of color are disproportionately hit, and they are, by the way, also disproportionately have lower levels of vitamin D, which is one of the reasons why there are a number of societies now, especially in the South portions of the United States, that are in charge of and working with people of color and health plans to make sure the message gets out that they should really look at supplementing with vitamin D.
At Healthy Habit Health Foods, increased public awareness about vitamin D levels and its relationship to COVID-19 has caused a boost in sales.
Vitamin D is consistently one of the best-selling vitamins since March of 2020 because people are finding out how important it is for preventing all kinds of infections, not just coronavirus infection or COVID-19.
If you're concerned about your vitamin D levels, a simple blood test can show if your levels are too low. You can go through your doctor or purchase an at-home testing kit. In the broadcast center, Jackie O'Neill, Cronkite News.
People who live near Luke Air Force Base in the West Valley are being advised to drink bottled water after toxic chemicals were found in wells near the area. The chemicals are believed to be from toxic firefighting foam that was absorbed into the ground around the military base. It's unclear how long the water has been contaminated, but it's believed that 1,700 customers may have been impacted. They have all been notified and told to get bottled water for the next month.
Taking a look outside now from our downtown studios, it's sunny and clear, but we may see some clouds rolling in this weekend. Faith Abercrombie is standing by with what the rest of your week will look like. Faith?
Well, it is warm and sunny and beautiful, and that's it. That is your forecast. Just kidding. Let's take a look at these temperatures we have going on across the state. It'll be 79 degrees in Phoenix, our highest temperature at 82 degrees in Yuma, and our chilliest at about 51 degrees in Flagstaff. Now, checking in on the rest of the country, it looks like we're starting to stay away from those chilly temperatures we've been seeing. They're starting to catch up with us here in Phoenix, Arizona. Now, we've talked about our highs, but let's take a look at our lows. Now, if you are an early bird, you might start off with those layers in the morning. It'll be 44 degrees in Phoenix as our low temperature, but I promise you those layers will start to come off from the rest of the day. Now, looking ahead at our evening planner for tonight, about 76 degrees at 6 p.m., beautiful sunny skies and clear skies for the rest of the night, a little bit of wind and 64 degrees at 10 p.m. Now, looking ahead for tomorrow and the rest of our 8-day forecast, 71 degrees on Thursday, very sunny skies, and it looks like we're going to stay with this trend for the rest of the week with sunny, clear skies, staying in those 70-degree temperatures and jumping ahead to Wednesday. Maybe a little bit of sprinkles, but nothing too crazy going on here in Phoenix. For Cronkite Weather, I'm Faith Abercrombie.
Next week, the Supreme Court is scheduled to hear 2 cases concerning Arizona and voting rights. Julia Sandor joins us now to explain what's at stake.
The court combined Brnovich versus the Democratic National Committee and the Arizona Republican Party versus the DNC. Both would make it more difficult to have votes counted. The first would throw out the entire ballot if cast in the wrong precinct. Right now, just the vote specific to the precinct would be thrown out. The second prohibits ballot collection, where a voter gives their mail-in ballot to someone else to deliver to the election office. Today, several groups held a news conference to discuss how this case could impact the Voting Rights Act. Their concern, these changes could negatively impact voters of color.
There's no mail delivery for Native Americans, and for the Blackfeet, the county seat was an over 100-mile round trip. We had to file a Section 2 lawsuit so the Blackfeet could vote. Section 2 remains a critical tool in fighting voter suppression in Indian country, and we believe that the Supreme Court should affirm there's no place for racism in our elections in 2021.
The Supreme Court is expected to hear oral arguments in the case on March 2nd. In the Broadcast Center, Julia Sandor.
Hi, I'm Gareth Kwok. After the break, I'll have your Cronkite Sports Report, including what Suns made the NBA All-Star list, and maybe more importantly, who did not. So stick around.
Ready to watch the best of PBS anytime, anywhere, on nearly any device? It's easy with the free PBS Video app. Simply download the PBS Video app on your mobile or streaming device. Now you can watch the latest PBS episodes or catch up on the shows you missed. And when you support your local station, you can get PBS Passport, giving you access to more episodes, more specials, more of what you love.
Every day I wake up, my first thought is, how can I serve this community?
The biggest hurdle was not taking PTSD personally.
Would you welcome, please, the amazing.
Everybody that watches this, they say that I am the greatest that they've ever seen.
Take a journey with Arizona PBS. Join us every Sunday afternoon for Destination Drama. Watch all your favorite PBS dramas like Grantchester.
I'm William Davenport, new vicar of Grantchester.
Poldark.
Nothing in my life has meaning without you.
And Victoria.
I know that I'm young, but I know my duty.
And if you missed a recent primetime drama, we'll help you catch up on those too. Destination Drama. Every Sunday afternoon at 1. Only on Arizona PBS.
Hey, I'm Rick Steves. You know, I don't go anywhere without my passport. And now, thanks to PBS Passport, you can travel with me and watch all 10 seasons of Rick Steves Europe and all my travel specials. This exclusive streaming service is just for our members. Not only can you see all my shows, but you can see thousands of hours of your favorite public television shows. Become a member today and get your passport.
The great thing is to last and get your work done. And see and hear and learn and understand. And write when there is something that you know, and not before, and not too damned much after.
Coming in April to Arizona PBS.
Welcome back. I'm Gareth Kwok with your Cronkite Sports Report. The NBA announced this year's All-Star teams, and among the selections is Suns point guard Chris Paul, chosen as an All-Star reserve. But the bigger story is who did not get picked, Devin Booker. This sparked some outrage on social media, with LeBron James calling Book the most disrespected player in the game. The Cardinals tweeted about it as well. It seems the whole sports world thinks Booker, who is averaging over 24 points per game, should be an All-Star. What do you think? You can make your voice heard by visiting @SportsCronkite on Twitter and voting in our poll. In the meantime, count Devin Booker among those on the All-Star snub list.
You know, at the end of the day, we control what we can control. You know what I mean? We talk about everything as a team. Me and Book have a really close relationship. And, you know, it is what it is. You know, we'll worry about what we can control.
Here are 3 more stories we're tracking today. Up first, today is the release of the second half of the NBA schedule. The Suns will visit the Portland Trail Blazers after the All-Star break. Then will host 5 home games in a row, where they will most notably face the Los Angeles Lakers. Second, ASU basketball's dominating performance on both sides of the basketball in Tuesday's 97-64 blowout win against the Washington Huskies. It's the team's largest margin of victory in Pac-12 play in the Bobby Hurley era. And thirdly, the Coyotes respond to a report that accused the organization of dysfunction at every level. In a statement, the team said the report was, quote, untrustworthy and lacked candor, end quote. They also said they are exploring legal options. After transferring from the University of Arizona, track star Turner Washington is making a name for himself at ASU. The Sun Devil recently broke an NCAA throwing record. His success comes as no surprise. However, as Cronkite News reporter Autumn Thompson tells us, it runs in the family.
Turner Washington comes from a line of throwers for track and field. While starting at a young age and playing other sports, he knew that throwing was something he always wanted to do.
My dad, he was a thrower, so that was like a major kind of like growing up with him around. It was definitely an attractive idea.
When Washington was in middle school, he threw discus for the first time, creating a lasting connection between a father and a son.
But it was like a great like bonding time for us because he'd be at work, I'd be at school, but then like an hour a day, we'd just be out in the circles throwing. He would throw with me as well.
The first year working with Turner, he actually told me that he thought he might be a better shot putter. Anthony was a great discus thrower, but it's nice that Turner has his own event.
And it's in that event where Washington has excelled. He recently broke the NCAA indoor record in shot put while at the Texas Tech shootout, later on calling his dad to tell him the news.
He was pretty pumped up. He liked to remind me about how I didn't like throwing shot put in high school, and he made me, so he got a kick out of it.
While the upcoming Olympics is in the back of his mind, Washington is focusing on winning this season. Autumn Thompson, Cronkite News.
That does it for today's Cronkite Sports Report. Back to you, Jamie and Ivory.
Thanks, Gareth. That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us. And for more top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.